lineman have some beers.
Gotta hydrate.
D. Wood, of course it's the offensive lineman. Like, you wouldn't expect any other.
We're the best position group on the team. That's just dudes being dudes right there. Look at that. That's peak human being right there.
And of course, like, two of the guys there didn't even practice, you know? Which is so on point.
It's not their first beer of the day.
I would have fit. That's me right there.
I know.
Not practice.
I know that.
Come on, man. GM, stop hating. They're still humans just because they didn't practice.
Never in the cornerback room. Never. Always the offensive lineman. Let's talk quarterbacks now with a couple of QB quick reads. Domonique, what does Jaxson Dart need to prove this weekend against the Jets?
I think he has some expectations now coming off of a good performance against the Bills. I think he needs to prove that he can do it again. And I know it's the preseason. We don't want to overhype this situation, but it's really hard to play well at any point in NFL. He did it once. If he can do it again, I think we can start to get excited, and Mike gets what he wants.
Mike T's been pounding the drum for the Giants to start Jaxson Dart right out of the gate.
Dart Vader strikes again, sharpen the dart. Dart or dominance. I mean, we can keep going.
This is terrible. Why did anybody tell him not to do that?
Yeah, but in all seriousness, he's the best quarterback on the New York Giants, hard stop. I would play him from day one like we did with Mark Sanchez and never look back. And look, Russell Wilson's had a great career, but a young ascending Jaxson Dart is the way the Giants should go. And hopefully he proves that more this weekend against the Jets.
You agree?
No.
Which one did you agree with?
No. Well,
I didn't agree with any of those.
Any of them.
You agree about Jaxson Dart?
Like, no.
I hit a bullseye.
Well, the whole ChatGPT was just awful. I am so disappointed in AI. But no, I literally, Brian Daboll has seen these guys every day in practice, all the way through the offseason. I trust his judgment as it relates to when Jaxson Dart will be ready to start.
We'll see. They have said all along it'll be Russell Wilson to start the season. So, we'll see. But, I mean, like the Giants, like they started this time of year, there's always this weird buzz that starts. And, like, there's this idea now that the Giants are maybe being a little underrated.
Yeah.
You buying it?
I'm buying it in part because of the defensive line. And I think anytime you have a unit that shows the potential of being utterly dominant, and it's not the entire side of the ball, but it could kind of trickle down, because if you have something that requires the opposing team to game plan for and prepare for, it makes everyone else's job easy. If that D-line can be as good as I think a lot of us think it is, it makes the rest of the life for defense easier, which makes the life for the offense even easier.
Nick, I think the question for me is, can they play with a lead?
Yeah.
When you have a lead and you have a defense, particularly a front like the Giants have, boy, that's going to be a problem for a lot of offenses.
You know what the best thing is they have going for them? They didn't win the division last year, which means they can win it this year. Someday he will get this. D. Wood, what does Anthony Richardson need to prove against the Packers this weekend if he plays?
How about, for starters, staying healthy?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, let's not get knocked out of the game. That's to start with. I think a little pre and post snap, improvement on that, obviously. But I think his biggest thing is just accuracy as a quarterback. Like, we know he's a tremendous athlete, but being accurate and delivering the football to his playmakers, because make no mistake about it, like the Indianapolis Colts have a lot of playmakers on their offense. Yeah. They just need a guy to deliver them the football. If they can find that with Anthony Richardson, great.
How do you think this plays out?
I think it's going to be Daniel Jones. Anthony Richardson has to be dependable, and that sack, which you never want to see in the preseason, that's a lack of experience. He should know that, where his hot's coming from. So, look, hopefully they're patient with his development as the old, hey, let's win for today with Daniel Jones, and hopefully develop for tomorrow with Anthony Richardson. Again, 13 starts in college, guys. That's what's going to happen.
It's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Like, it sounds to me like we at least have to consider the possibility that the Colts are going to be looking for a quarterback next offseason. Is that fair?
We have to absolutely consider a possibility, and that's a possibility you have to consider for like 70% of the teams in the league every year. Yeah. But I think to your point about him learning and getting more experience, it's some people, like really smart people, are able to learn from other people's experience. But all of us can learn from our own experience. And I promise you, he won't mess that protection up ever again.
Does that hurt?
Yeah, there's no education like experience. I promise you, he will know who his height read is on that protection. And if it has to happen through hits like this, he's the type of athlete and type of explosive player that I think the Colts are not going to give up on early. They're going to stick with it and hope, because the worst thing that could happen is he turns into the full example of what they expect him to be somewhere else.
Yeah, that's not what you want. If you pick a guy fourth, he'll probably still get some chances there. We'll see what happens to start the season. One more. This one's for you, Mike T. J.J. McCarthy not playing tomorrow against New England for the Vikings. What has he shown you so far that gives you confidence?
Cross, two things. One, it's not too big for him. No pre-snap penalties, ran the offense well, and then he moved really well. Again, big knee surgery, missed the whole year. He looked very good in terms of his movement, which is very encouraging for the Vikings.
Earlier we asked you about Caleb Williams. Remind everybody why he was the one pick. Let's do that with JJ. He was the 10th pick in the draft. They moved up to get him. They let Sam Darnold go. They told Aaron Rodgers no thanks. Why? What is it about this kid?
Yeah, got a couple of plays to show you here. First of all, he has a great arm, and he is very experienced in terms of looking at defense here. Looks like cover two. And as this play progresses, you're going to see the safety come on down. And as J.J. McCarthy rolls out of the pocket, look where he keeps his eyes down the field. He has man coverage, throws a perfect pass for a touchdown. That's somebody that knows how to diagnose quickly. And here, you're going to see the corner. Sorry, Neek. Outruns leverage. That is a great athlete. That's why Minnesota traded up for him. He can make all the throws. He's experienced. And then, look, that translates to last week. So I trust Kevin O'Connell and his development. And, again, a little concerned about the rust in the knee. He looked great. And to me, you can see why they moved on from Sam Darnold, Gross.
Yeah, it does seem like they really trust their coaching staff to make sure this works, right, D?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell, to me, is the X factor. If Kevin O'Connell allows Sam Darnold to walk out, doesn't bring in a threatening backup, that just tells you everything you need to know about how he feels about J.J. McCarthy starting the season.
I feel like at this point we feel like the Vikings offense is probably going to be pretty good because we've seen it with a number of different quarterbacks. What about that defense?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about the defense. They were incredible last year, creating turnovers and just putting their offense in position to win. But they were incredible in part because they did a lot of simulated pressures and deceptive things with their defense. And they always threatened to do cover zero. They lost Stephon Gilmore, who was their best man coverage guy. If you can't actually run cover zero, lining up in a formation that threatens cover zero doesn't scare anybody. So they need their corners to step up to allow them to do all the different tricky things that they have done in the past to give them some success.
You think they have enough back there? I mean, I guess that's the question, right?
I will never give up on Jeff Okudah. I remember that tape in college. I'm not giving up. I believe him and Isaiah Rodgers are going to make it happen. I believe Jeff Okudah. He was so good at college.
This is the third pick.
He was so good at college. I don't get what happened. I don't know what happened, but I think that this will be the right situation with Brian Flores will coach him up, and they'll be good on defense.
Unproven young quarterback, yes, but a team that won 14 games last year, had a shot at the 1 seed in the conference until the last week of the season. Is this a Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely. Again, I'm going to go with the combination of Kevin O'Connell with J.J. McCarthy and Brian Flores. That's going to be really hard to beat. I agree with Neek. There'll be some growing pains on defense, but they'll still bring pressure. I can't wait for that opening Monday night game in Chicago. But what J.J. McCarthy can do, he is a full-field quarterback. And again, Justin Jefferson, if he's not the best receiver outside of Jamar Chase, he probably is. So when you have difference makers like they do, Graz, I know Addison's going to miss a couple games, but you go put their roster up against almost anybody with what should be a really good young emerging quarterback.
Tough division, right? I mean, the 3 teams made the playoffs last year. You think they got enough to win it?
I mean, listen, absolutely. I think, there could be transition early on, breaking in a new quarterback who's first time starting. But again, I always talk about infrastructure with these teams. I mean, not many teams have it better than the Minnesota Vikings, and so they'll get this thing going.
And the rest of the teams in the division are going through transition too. Some are even bigger. I guess the Packers might be the organization that has the least amount of transition to go through, but those other guys are bringing in new coaches, new coordinators, new O-linemen, so they'll be going through some growing pains also.
See what happens. The always fascinating NFC North. Time now for Get Up and Go, which is brought to you by Nature Made. Later today, the NCAA will announce its findings and punishments following the investigation into the Michigan sign-stealing scandal. Former staffer Connor Stallions is accused of arranging for people to attend games and film sideline signals involving future Michigan opponents. From 2021 to the middle of the 2023 season, Michigan has already suspended head coach Sharon Moore for 2 games for his role in the scandal. We'll see what else comes of that today. Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is expected to have his disciplinary hearing with the NFL on September 30th for his role in a crash that injured several people during the 2024 offseason. This means Rice will likely be eligible to play at least the first 4 weeks of the season before any disciplinary action is handed down. Rice was sentenced in July to 30 days in jail and 5 years probation. And in baseball, the Mets are a disaster. Ozzie Albies drove in the go-ahead run with a double in the 8th inning as the Braves beat the slumping Mets. Says slumping here. This is worse than that at this point. They've lost 13 of their last 15, and their lead over the Reds in the race for the final wild card spot has shrunk to a half game. So thanks for making me read that. Coming up, let's make a deal. Have we gotten to the point where a trade of Micah Parsons is the only solution for the Cowboys? Is that a real thing that can happen? We don't know.